I lost my husband and my crush in 10 minutes. I, 24F, met my husband, 32M, when I was 19 and I fell in love hard. After 9 months of dating we were already married and that is when the problems started. He was my first everything and he meant the world to me. But he was still talking to more than 3 of his exes and he made me break the news to them. He is a foreigner in a stereotypical country, so on top of me having to take all the stares and comments from family and friends, I also had to fight with the women in his life. During our 5 years marriage I tried to end myself 2 times. I had to change jobs because he would get jealous and have us move a lot, and I almost got arrested alongside him and his brother because he used my credit cards to commit fraud and money laundering. He was in prevention arrest for 6 months while I was working 14 hours a day 6 days a week to visit him and provide food and cigarettes for him because the food was disgusting in there. That happened during the pandemic, so I also had to take a COVID test every 2 weeks in order to drop off those supplies to him. What I found out after he got released is that I was paying for his calls in order for him to call other women and his family instead of checking up on me and ask me how I was doing. That time I was living with my parents and they took care of my needs while I took care of his. I loved him so much I let all that slide, and when he got out I changed my job for a better paid one in order for us to move. He also got a job like he promised me he would, but after 2 months he got fired. For the next 2 years I was the provider while he was staying home all day trading stocks and asking me for investments from my salary because we will buy our own house from what he's doing while what I am doing is pointless. About 3 months ago something snapped in me. I got fed up and started demanding him to get a job, and that is when the insults started. We would argue every day and throw insults at each other until I kicked him out of our apartment. The biggest mistake I did was keeping in touch with him after that. One day, while I was on my way home from his new place, I met a boy I knew from primary school. We used to be classmates and I had a huge crush on him, so we clicked instantly. I asked for his number and the next day we met again. All this happened about 2 months after I kicked my husband out, and the reason I visited him was to discuss the divorce proceedings. I was short on money and I needed him to split the fees with me. And my crush was unchanged. When I was around him I felt like a child again. He was just the way I knew him. Nice, cute boy, but with some obvious emotional problems. He never looked in people's eyes. He was making weird noises from time to time. He would get embarrassed quickly and was very quiet. It was very hard to keep a conversation with him. He told me he never had a girlfriend before and that he is spending his time watching YouTube when he is not at work. Last week I invited him to my house for the first time. I planned that day in detail because I was nervous as well to be around him, and I asked my sister to join us for the movie and the board game we played. Everything was great. We were all laughing and telling jokes until my husband entered the house. And my sister was the last to enter and she forgot to lock the door. I started shaking while he went straight to my crush and started asking him questions. He told my crush that we were still living together and that we fucked just last night. Yes, we were still married but we stopped any intimacy. I had to call my father to kick him out again. Now one thing I forgot to mention is that I did not tell my crush I was married. I only told him I recently came out of a relationship that lasted 5 years and ended badly. I didn't want him to know because I did not want his parents to judge me and put ideas in his head that would make him resent me. You can imagine he left immediately after that and he stopped replying to my texts. Later that night he called me, but on the other line was his mother. She threatened me to leave her son alone, and how dare I lie to him and try to rebuild my life on his back. I just said okay. I hung up and I started crying. We did not speak since. Was I in the wrong? I feel like I was, and I am embarrassed for the horrible liar I have become. Any advice would help.